Here we are at class 1. Okay, so class 2. Great. So always, you guys know, I'm going to try to keep it, as long as the noise doesn't get too bad, I want to keep it so we can hear each other, but there's also the chat button just to remind you if anything comes up. And if you have any of your own deals going on, please be sure to bring them up at the end, okay, like last time. All right, so here we are at class number 2, and a couple of things. One of our members whose name is Wayne Wright. In fact, I don't know if he's joining us tonight, but he was on last week, and in the intervening days, right after our last class, he said he gave us all a tip, and that's part of being in the community, is saying, hey, here's what I think works. He was saying Calculator Secrets. It's a book that Jeff Armstrong has written. He emailed me and said, this is a 256-page book that teaches the secrets of using the HB10B2 calculator. Your students can order it through Jeff's website for $82. I'm enjoying your class and have also this book to help me better understand the math involved in the note business. It's filled with practice exercises for the beginner, intermediate, and advanced skills for the astute note professional like yourself. So that was a tip from Wayne Wright, one of our community members, and that's wonderful. And in just a second, we're going to go and show just how you do that. So thank you, Wayne. I appreciate that very much. Also, in the old days, John Richards, who is now dead, I lived and died. I went through this book called Calculator Power like a million times until I could do all of the things like backwards and in my sleep. So these are two books that we're recommending if you want to deepen your understanding of using the financial calculator. And super quick, I want to show you, if you go to, this is Jeff Armstrong's site, armstrongcapital.com, and I clicked on his little product link right here, and this right here over here is what Wayne was talking about, calculator secrets. So you can get a variety of versions here. He's saying ebook available for $82. Apparently he feels like it's really worth it. I don't doubt it. Jeff is an honest to goodness great educator in the business. So this could be a really good resource for you. Also, John Richards used to be a part of Noteworthy USA. So even though the ownership has changed, they still own the rights to his materials. So if you want to buy John Richards' work, a good place to do it is Noteworthy. So it's noteworthyusa.com. And if you go to their product link, you can see that right here, and rightly so, right near the top, they have John Richards' book for $39.95, Calculator Power. I mean, neither of these two recommendations, Jeff's or of the John Richards book, I don't make any money promoting this to you guys. Sometimes I do make money promoting things to you, but usually not. It's just these are the things that I think will really help you, and they're not that expensive. He also made a second book. I wonder if they have it here. Oh, this is another great book, Owner Will Carry. This is another one that in the early days, I referenced a lot. Owner Will Carry by Bill Broadbent. Anyway, John Richards actually did a second book, which I also bought too. So anyway, just FYI for you guys, if you want to deepen your understanding. So good. Thanks a lot, Wayne. Thanks to you guys. Thanks to John Richards and for all he contributed to the industry. Okay, so now just on to some examples. Right off, are there any questions left over from last week, or anything that didn't make sense, or you want clarification? Or hey, Ryan, did you ever make an offer to that guy who wanted 100,000 too much?
No, no, I just backed off on that.
Yeah, okay. Totally makes sense.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense, and I knew that he'd want the higher price.
Okay. Anybody else? Any questions? Carlo, left over from last week?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to just go in and we're going to just start on our practicing. Okay, this is a note that came to me last week. So some guy emails me, and by the way the email came in, I know that this guy has shopped this note up and down the internet a million times, right? There's some things you can just tell when someone's like fresh and they're bringing you their note, and you might be the one, one of three people they talk to about the sale of their note versus the person who's had it blasted all over the internet. It's been posted on a bunch of sites. Everybody's looked at it. All the brokers have pitched it to the same end buyers. So, it's kind of messy. You can just tell. But anyway, it looked reasonable enough to look at. He says, so here's the deal. He says I sold this property for 55,000. It's worth 80. Okay. Well, red flag. Why do you sell a property worth 80,000 for 55 on terms? Usually, you get more money for carrying terms than less. So there's a few red flags here. Not that I'm cynical, because I'm actually a really positive person overall, but still, you just got to know that note sellers usually they're human. They're trying to get the most for their note, and they're not telling you everything all the time. So anyway, that's the first red flag. It's worth 80, but I sold it for 55. Okay, what a nice guy you are. Okay, next thing. He took 10% down payment. This is an owner-occupied property. That's not bad for owner-occupied. That's decent. Okay, I'd like 20, but 15 or more, but 10%, you can live with that. So that left the carryback amount to 49.5. So let's get back where we're just following along with the calculator on every little level. So 55,000 minus 5,500. Okay, that's our loan amount, and that goes here, right? Remember our 5 sacred things here? These are 3 positive buttons, and these are 2 negative buttons. Okay, so we just entered that for, oops, I just made a mistake. 59,500 for present value. Okay, and he charged 10% interest, and it's fully amortized over 15 years. So 15 times 12 is 180. So that's what we're going to enter for term. And then this is naturally, there's no balloon, and that by default that's 0 unless we add something in. So if I want to calculate what the payment is, I simply click payment. So there we have 531.93. No balloon. Obviously it's fully amortized. And here's the thing. He's received 82 payments already. So how many years is that? We're talking almost 7 years of seasoning on this note. Is that good or bad?
Very good.
That's very good, right? Okay, so far, looking pretty good. Sales price, probably it's going to appraise. I'm not going to be guaranteed of that, but probably it's going to appraise if he sold it below market. But we don't know because 7 years ago, I mean, we don't know. Some areas have stayed the same, some have gone up, some have gone down. That's good, 10% payment. This is good. That's a decent rate of return. This is good. Shorter amortization, the better. And this is a lot of seasoning. So there's 92 payments left on this thing. So I'm going to put that in. 92 N. Okay? So now let's go to the next. Oops. Come on. Okay, now remaining balance. How do we figure out remaining balance? Okay, so there's 98 payments left, right? And
Present
so
value.
then thanks. Good, Carlo. Okay, so then 35,528.63. That's how much the balance is left on the note. Okay, so then I'll just kind of write that down to myself. Like, honestly, this is what I do. I mean, I'm not that sophisticated. Other people are probably more sophisticated, but I use a combination of my calculator and a little pad of paper every time I'm working over a deal. Okay, so I just write that down so I know, oh, there's the balance, because then I don't have to, figure it again. All right, now, like we did the last time around, I'm going to figure what's my ITV, my investment to value maximum. And I'm going to say 60%. Okay, so if the property is worth 55,000 times 0.60, right? Decimal over two places. The max I can do anything on this note, whole or partial, is 33,000. And I also write that down. I just take a little pencil and paper and I write that down to myself. And so now I have that all just, and so now I'm going to just clear it all out again, because I want to start over. Okay, so now that I know those certain things, I know I've got 98 payments. I know I want, okay, based on this scenario, okay, look down here, low 500 credit score. What do you think about that? Any comments? Can these people get any conventional financing?
No.
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 Okay, they've got something that really went sideways with their life, right? So, and most of us have had some hits in the last few years if we've been active in the market or taking risks at all with short sales, foreclosures, um, modifications, settling with credit card companies, bankruptcies. Usually not. There's a lot of people that have something on their credit, but depending on what it is, will determine on how uptight you are about the low credit score. Okay, and that'll be. I'll show you an example of that in the next thing that we're doing. But I don't know why these people have low credit yet. Okay, and unfortunately I never got to that point to figure that out. But anyway, based on their credit score, but based on and it's 10% down, and it's in Texas. What do I think of Texas? I mean, what comes to you guys' mind when you're thinking of Texas? I mean, do you know what I'm thinking? What does Texas mean to me in terms of the notes, the collaterals in Texas? Okay, so for me, everything comes down to there's deed and mortgage states, and mortgage states are less attractive to me than deed states. Why?
Judicial foreclosure.
Yeah, because then what happens? Usually they take longer, and usually you get in front of a judge who could do what? Arbitrarily interpret law. And then there's usually a right of redemption afterwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
For
it's
a
really
year.
messy. Where if you have a deed state, then it's it's quicker and easier, and usually there's no redemption period. So in Texas in particular, they're a deed state, and I think it takes like 45 days to foreclose. It's faster than evicting a tenant in California. So I think of that. That's a positive. That's a real positive right there. This is a real negative. The 10% down payment was kind of neutral. It's okay, not great. But anyway, based on all of that, I go, okay, I want an 18% yield. There's some negatives, but there's some positives. It's Texas. There's supposedly 7 years of perfect payment history. I didn't get provided with that yet. So I said, okay, I'll take an 18% yield. I'll buy this note if I can make 18%. And it's small, right? It's a small note. So, I've entered 98 payments left. I've entered what I want as a yield. I've entered what the payment is. Obviously, there's no balloon, so that's a 0. So I click over here to PV and get 0. What did I do wrong? Okay. We have the monthly payment of. Did you guys keep track? Did you write it down?
I don't think. Yeah, no, I don't think we had the payment in there.
Oh, is that what I did? Okay, so let's do this whole thing over again. Okay, I know I want 18% yield. I know there's a 98 payments left, and the payment. Let's go back.
531 something.
Yeah, what is it? 531.93. Okay, good. Okay, 531.93. That's a negative number. Okay, now, so this is what I'll pay for his note. 27,218. Yeah, good. I came out with the same number. Hooray. Okay. So then I go back to the guy, and here's some more of the story. So once I kind of calculate my numbers, like he sent this to me in an email, and I did my quick calculations, and then I want to talk to the guy in person. You know, once in a while you have no choice but to just email somebody a quote because they don't provide a phone number, and you just have to ballpark it subject to everything. But I like to talk to people first. So I go, sounds like a great note. Why do you want to sell? Well, I want to, I want to retire and I want to make other investments. And so my question is, wow, you're making 10% on your money on this, super well performing note for the last 7 years. So how are you going to make better than 10%? Like, what's your plan? I'm just really curious. Well, just so happens that I can make 600% on my money if I trade the stock market. And I'm going, oh man, my eyes start rolling in the back of my head. And I know some people do this, but seriously, most people can't pull this off. A lot of stock trading options sort of classes teach you if you're constantly day trading and doing all these things, you can do that. So, but in my mind, I'm going, right. So then I said, oh, wow. So if you can make 600% on your money, you could take 50 cents on the dollar and still come out ahead. Oh, yeah, but no, I'm not going to do that. And I go, okay, well, fair enough. So basically you're telling me that, so I told him, about the ballpark. I said, but somewhere between, 26 and 27,000. So let's just say the current balance was, I think we said, what did we say on that? Current balance. Where did we figure the balance? Okay, 35,000. Okay, so I said you have 35,000. Okay, minus, this is just approximate round numbers. Saying even I can pay you 27,000. I said you're only going to take an $8,000 discount, right? So if you can take 27,000 and make 600% in 1 year, so times 6, I said you're going to make $162,000 in the next year. And he goes, yeah, that's right. I said, okay, so what am I missing? You won't take an $8,000 discount to make $162,000. I said, what actually, what were you actually thinking that I would offer you for your note? And he's going, well, I think that the fair thing is a 10% discount. So basically, he wants $31,000. And I go, well, that's really not. So what would that be? If we paid $31,000, that's 90% practically ballparky. So if we paid that for the next 98 payments of 531, we'd be buying, he's looking for someone to take this note at a 14% yield, something like that. And realistically, he might find someone who lives right there, but his story didn't make sense to me. And after, I know I was his last thing, because I know he's been shopping this on the internet for a long time. So there's something fishy. Maybe one of these people lost their job, and he just, he knows something uncomfortable's coming, something like that. But all I'm saying is it's kind of it's part of the note business. It's hard just getting the motivation from the seller and for them to talk to you realistically and honestly. But if he would tell me exactly what the real story is, I have a good chance of customizing something that makes sense for both him and me. But he didn't want to be that transparent. He just wanted to say, I'd rather give up $162,000 in potential profit than take an $8,000 discount on this note. So I don't know. People are interesting. Okay. So any questions so far? Any comments? Okay, so let's go to the next example, buying a partial. I want to kind of show you This is actually the first partial I ever did, and this was actually just last year. And actually, before last year, mostly I did a lot of just brokering. I didn't keep a lot of things. Now it's rare for me to broker, and I keep almost everything, a piece of everything. I'm partnering with people, so that's been a change. So I'm going to show you my very first partial and how I came up with those numbers. Okay, clear all. All right, this lady called me. She's a real estate agent in Florida. What's Florida? Do you guys know? Deed or mortgage state? Mortgage. And how long does it take to get a foreclosure done uh, in Florida right now? Anyone have a guess? 18 months. It usually takes 6 months, but right now, because there's so many foreclosures going on, it's super backed up. All the courts are backed up. In New Jersey, it takes 3 years. Okay? So where these things are makes a huge, huge difference, because you can see that taking 3 years to get a property back or 45 days to get a property back makes all the difference in the world, right? Okay. Excuse me, I'm sorry. When this lady sold the property, now this is a super small deal. Now, a lot of bigger note buyers, they won't deal with anything less than $50,000. Me, I love the little deals, as long as they make sense for me on some level. So, this agent, she was the agent, she was also the owner. She was an investor type that also had a license. She bought this property, she fixed it up, she turned it around to a gal for $36,000, and that person wanted to put down $10,000, but she said, no, why don't you just put down $6,000? That's good enough. I want you to have reserves, because I don't want you to, I want you to have plenty of money and backup so that you're living comfortably and you don't overextend yourself or something like that. So that was the story. So minus 6,000. So the note amount was 30,000. So I'm going to plug that into PV right there. She charged the max allowed by usury laws in Florida of 11%. And they fully amortized this loan over 72 months, 6 years. Okay, here's two things I already like. This is 17% down. This is almost 20% down on owner occupied. That's a lot of skin in the game right there. Right here, this is a nice high interest rate. Okay, the highest, and she can still make the payment based on her income. And I love this. Super short, fully amortized. Can't get better. Every month, this note, is paying down so fast that even if property values softened every month, I'm still maintaining my protective equity, because my principal is being paid down so fast. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so that means I like this note a lot. Okay, decent, great, great. Okay, so then we solve for payment. We get 571.02. And I go, okay, great. I like this note. I like everything so far. Fine. Now, I always stop and I create my ceiling for what I can do with this note. So if my maximum investment to value that I can be in is 60%, then I take the value of the property, what I think the value of the property is, 36,000 times 0.6 equals, okay, I can be in at up to 21.6 on this deal. And then, as a side note, which is not a side issue, I go, what's going on? Why are you selling this note? Where have you been? Who else have you gotten bids from? Why didn't it work? Whatever. Well, the last note buyer didn't perform. They backed out. They wouldn't wire money. They wanted her to send the note and deed before he actually sent money. They weren't comfortable with that, understandably so. So they backed out of the deal. She needs money. Okay, her one and only son, her little parent button is busting open wide with pride, because her little one son got accepted to West Point on a scholarship. and she wants him to have some extra money to go off to school with. But he's leaving in 2 weeks. Okay, do I have someone who's motivated? Yes. Okay. They have a limited amount of time. They want to make a deal, and I feel like she's a pretty straight shooter from the variety of conversations that we've had. To me, I feel like I want to trust and actually resonate with the people I do business with. Not everyone's that woo woo, but I like and trust the people I do business with on all ends. It's not to me just about money, not at all. Okay, so next stage of the deal. Okay, other things to know. I'm doing my due diligence now. I'm going, okay, what is the credit score of the payer? Not good. 500 something. Why? Well, in this case, this is a single lady. She was divorced previously. Then she had a medical condition. And she, because of medical expenses, had to file. She didn't file bankruptcy, but she lost her previous house to foreclosure. That was 4 years ago. She's got like $20,000 in the bank as liquid reserves. So I'm okay. She has bad credit. The story makes sense. She seems like a good person. She's working again. She's got money in the bank. I feel okay about this. Payments made, seasoning only 4. That's in the overall scheme of things, that's really low seasoning on an owner occupied. Okay, so the payments left 72 minus 4 is 68. So remember, that's how we can calculate the note balance even before we get fancy with amortization things. So we can say there's 68 payments left. Remember that note. Okay, 20, we push PV, we're going to get 28,799.53. So that's the balance left on the note right now. We already talked about the implications that it's a mortgage state. So given everything, it's a small note, plus there's low seasoning, plus there's bad credit score, plus Florida is a nightmare. I go, man, I'm going to have 25% yield. And if not, if I don't get this deal, I'll pass. It's fine. So anyway, so here's what I said. 25% here. And what will I pay? Okay. So I put in the yield. We had 68 here, 50,102 here, 55,7,102 here. Calculated. So I'll pay based on this yield that I want, based on everything. Like I could have to come out of pocket and wait 18 months to get the property back, right? Okay, I'll pay this. So when I wrote up the contract, I just rounded down a little bit. So I said, look, I'll buy the whole note for $20,500 subject to due diligence. She signed it. So then I go, great. Now we're on. So now we start to the due diligence. First thing I do. Remember when we buy a note, who's the first payer of the note? Who pays on the note? Who's the real payer on a note?
The owner occupier.
Yeah, they're the first round, but if everything goes sideways, who's the final payer of your note? Who pays? How do you get your money back out?
I sell the property.
Yep. Collateral. The security is always the payer of the note. So the most important thing, there's so many important things, but okay, first thing I do is find out what is the property really worth. Remember, she sold it for $36,000. I ordered a BPO. It cost me $95, and in 5 days I got a price back of $25,000. Oops. Okay, this changes my my maximum investment to value guidelines. So now, instead of 36, now I'm not saying my BPO guy was right. These guys, sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad, because they may not make distinctions between properties that have been rehabbed and ones that haven't yet, or ones that were REOs, or ones that were short sales, or ones that were standard. Sometimes they're lazy. Okay, so I have a feeling. Excuse me. I have a feeling. Let me take a little drink here. that he gave me an artificially low one, just based on my other online stuff that I was doing through ePraisal, Zillow. Is it Red? I'm not sure if Redfin goes to Florida, but anyway. But I don't care. That's what my paperwork is gonna say. So I just had to stick with it. Okay, 25,000. I'm gonna be conservative. So now 25,000 times zero point 0.6 is 15,000. Now that's my new ceiling, 15,000. Well, now I can't buy the whole note. You know, she's not going to take that much of a discount, but she desperately wants some money to send her son off to West Point. So I said, look, okay, 15,000 is my new PV. Based on my 25% that I want, let's solve for N. And it doesn't solve for N. Okay, let's clear all. Okay, we have 0 is over here in there, you know, it's fully amortized. 571.02 minus, that's my payment. The most I can pay is 15,000. I want a 25% yield based on my risk of having to come out of pocket for more money and waiting a long time if something goes wrong. Okay, I can buy 38.43 payments. Well, that's kind of an awkward number. It's pretty close to 3 years, okay? So then I just said, look, I'm just going to put in 3 years, 36 payments, and now I'm going to solve for what I'll pay. I'll pay you $14,361.73. Somehow I had 79 there. For the next 36 payments. And then when you get the note back, right, she's going to have a balance of, remember, it was 72 payments. She already got 4 payments. And then minus the 36 I'm going to buy equals 32. Okay, so she's going to have 32 payments left. The face interest rate on her note is 11%. The monthly payment is 571.02 minus there. So now I'm going to solve for the balance of the note when she gets it back. She's still going to have a balance of 15,774. Isn't that awesome? So she's going to take that. She's going to get that in 3 years from when I bought this note. Plus, she gets what I'm going to pay her, which is 14,361.79 equals, she gets $30,000, 136 for her $30,000 note that has a $28,000 balance. Okay, she can live with those numbers on paper, right? So it worked. We said yes, we pulled the trigger. So what did I do? This is a high risk note. I would not bring a normal third party person that I didn't know, who was not a sophisticated investor and who knew that there was a high risk that something could go wrong. So I went to my friend who's been a long-time real estate investor and said, I got this teeny little note deal. I know you got money hidden under your mattress. Why don't you give me 15 grand, right? That's my max ITV right there. I said, why don't you get me 15,000 of your money? Look, I'll pay you 15% on your money. That sounded good to him, right? It's worth bringing out from under your mattress. And for the next 36 months, right? Now I'm going to solve for what I have to pay him. $519.98. And he goes, that sounds like a good enough deal. I said, you get what could go wrong, right? And he goes, yeah, no, I'm comfortable. Let's do it. Okay, so basically he gave me 15,000, but I only needed to pay this person 14,361. I made her cover all the closing costs, okay, which I do frequently. So at the closing table, I made 15,000 minus 14,361.79. So I made what, $638 at closing. Plus, I got a monthly spread that's mine to keep for the next 36 months, right? The payment I get in from the lady is 571.02, and I only owe my friend 519 98. So I get to keep 5104 every month. So just by knowing how to do this business, I just created positive cash flow out of thin air, for myself. And this guy, he's totally thrilled. He's like, "Oh my God, that's very cool." He's making, I don't know, $170 a month in interest on this thing. I can't remember exactly. So everyone's happy, and she was definitely happy to get her son some interest, and then she'll get the note back and still get most of her payments. She didn't have to take a huge discount. Okay, any questions, comments so far? Okay, so next stage. So the partial I purchased. Okay, this is the part I want to show you that might be a little like out there. So let's see if we can just get there. Because I want to show you kind of how you put partial payments together and how you figure out that paperwork. Like, because when I buy a partial, I take the full assignment of the note, and they have to trust me to assign it back to them, and I notarize a document saying that I will, but they won't get the note back without a big hassle unless I just voluntarily reassign the note to them at the end of my 36 payments. Okay, so there's a lot of mutual trust there. So, but anyway, how do I figure out? So when this lady said, "Yeah, I'll take your offer. I'll take the 14,000." She says, "Well, what if the gal refinances or gets an inheritance and pays it off like a year from now? What's going to happen?" I mean, that's a really good question. So you have to have an early payoff demonstration. So is there any question that anyone understands what happens in a partial? The note's endorsed to me, the whole note. I take assignment of the whole mortgage in this case because it's Florida. The whole note's mine, but I have a contractual obligation to reassign it back to her after I've received my last payment. Okay, so then we have to figure out what happens when it goes off early. So this is where I'm going to take you to. I have a Mac, and all of the good. It's really frustrating to me because all of the good, kind of like the note financial stuff is all like written. The software's written for PCs. So what I've done is I have this little teeny virtual box thing, which makes me have a computer within a computer that runs on like a PC or something. So let's see if I have it. Is this it? Okay. Well, okay, here it is. Here's my little PC inside my Mac. And here I have one of my favorite of all time note tools is called T-Value. If you're serious about the note business at all, you gotta buy this. You gotta have it. It's only like $150. You can either get it same like on that Noteworthy USA site or Amazon or something. If you think this is a long-term thing and you really like knowing exactly how everything works and you want to keep track of it yourself and print out customized amortization schedules, just invest in this. This is a really good value for the rest of your life. Okay, so now I have to figure out what's the early payoff. If this loan pays off in 12 months or 24 months, I got to know at any time and be able to tell this lady, because she doesn't want me to just steal all of her payments. That would be nasty. So she wants to know what is she going to get at any time if this note pays off early or if there's a default. So this is what we did. I print her out an amortization schedule, and this is how we got to it. Okay, so let's put back in her original note. $30,000, 11% interest, 72-month amortization, solving for payment. Okay. I'm only buying 36 payments, but I'm buying 36 payments at her regular note the way she wrote it with an 11% interest, not the yield I want. I'm just buying 36 payments of how she wrote her note. So now I'm going to go 36, and I'm going to put that for N. Now I'm going to say present value. How much is 36 payments of the way she wrote her note worth? Okay, comes out to 17,441.81. That is how much of her note that I'm buying for what? 14,361, something like that. So I'm discounting her what, $3,000, $3,100. Okay. So I make that as, if you have this program, I make a little label, compounding monthly. You have, oops, capture. You have all sorts of these, options for how you're compounding. Okay, I just leave it at the default, which is the normal thing. Here's the annual rate that she's charging on her note. I make the first event is the loan. Now this was the date that my first payment that was due me was 7/1. So I just make the date of the loan or the note payment like exactly 1 month before she owes me the first payment, or I'm collecting the first payment, so that the numbers work out. So I made the note. Oops. So that 17,441, that's my loan amount. Okay, and then the next line is the payments starting the 1 month after mortgages are paid in arrears, and it's for 571.02. That's the monthly payment for 36 payments. So if I want to figure out what the amortization schedule is, here I go, click over here, and now I have the full amortization schedule. So if it pays off at month 10, here's what she's gonna get: $13,156.63. Okay, so she's gonna know, and I'm gonna know at every stage what I owe her in the event of default or a refinance or something like that. Okay, by the end, she's paid me everything, and she just gets the note back. So how does that? Now, what I'm going to do here, and I like how to send to Word, I just send it as a Word document. So I keep this. That's something I can look at simply. Okay, now I'm going to say save as Florida partial. Okay, I'm going to save it as that. Great. Done. Now I want to compare that to the amortization that I have with my investor. Remember, I borrowed like $15,000. So let's open that file. What does it look like? This little mouse gets crazy. Okay, Florida investor. Wow. That's the one thing of these virtual box things are a little wacky. Okay, so here's my guy, right? Here's my investor. I'm giving him 15% on his little $15,000. The loan, I put the loan amount of 1 month before I owe him the first payment. I said I would pay him $519.98 a month. So now let's get the amortization schedule for that, and I'm going to send that to Word also. And save as Florida investor. They should just make everything to work on a Mac. That's all I think. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Now, if I can, I want to bring up both of these for you guys to look at. All right. Let's just write this down because I might not be very successful. Let's say on month 18, if it pays off 18 months into the partial, I owe my investor $8,335.03. Okay, let's just write that down. That's 18 months, the investor. Okay, Now, where's my other thing? Open. No, I don't want new. I want open. I want my Florida partial right here. Okay, let's go down and see if it pays off. How much do I owe that gal? If I get paid off at month 18, I owe her 94.35.53. But guess what? Remember, I only owe the other guy 83.35. So if it pays off early, because I bought at a 25% yield, but I sold it and I borrowed money at a 15% yield, my loan's amortizing a whole lot quicker than his, right? So I only made, let's say, 630 something up front and $50 a month, but I have a back end of this deal of 94.35 minus 83.35. If it pays off, I'm going to get a bonus little kicker on this teeny weeny little note of $1,100. That's cool to me. That's a little bit of, like, making a little bit of money go a long way. Now, the thing is, any questions? Let me stop right there. Okay. The thing is, there's a lot of risk here, right? This note, even as of today, does not have quite 12 months of seasoning. I think as of March, it'll be seasoned, a full year, which is, universally respectable in the secondary market. So, I mean, in another 6 months, what one thing I could do is I could take out this guy at 15% and probably replace him with someone who has $10,000 and they're wondering how can they make a 10% return. And I'll say, look, I'll give you 10%. I'm bringing you in on this well-seasoned note, and you're going to get, what would it be? If I brought them in $10,000 and I paid them 10% over the next 18 months. Okay. Oops, that doesn't work out. Oh. Probably I have to pay attention what the value of if they give me. Yeah, probably at that point at 18 months, let's see, the balance of the note, that is to the investor. I have to keep it the same. Let's say anyway, if I want to pay him $500 a month, this is how I would reverse engineer it at the point when it makes sense, at the point where I could pay this off at par, which is at about 18 months, they'd have to only give me 83.25 in order to get a 10% return on a note that's been, even better now than it was before. And instead of making $51 a month, I'm going to make, $71,000 a month, or $71 a month, something like that. So, but I'm not going to put a novice investor into this deal until I feel like there's a lot, just, some really solid seasoning and things like that on the note. So, this is all I had, for this one. Trying to get this. I just want to shut. Do you guys deal with this at all? It's just kind of funny. Okay. To me, I went into the Apple store, and they don't have any better solutions than what I'm doing like right now, which is kind of frustrating. Turn off. This is like, okay, I'm turning off the computer inside my computer. But anyway, so that's what I do. Even though I love to work with a Mac, this is how I deal with the programs like T-Value and actually Notesmith also. If you're going to service a lot of your own Notesmith by Tech. Oh gosh, it's totally slipping my mind right now. Notesmith. These guys. Okay, this is another. It costs $500, but if you're gonna like buy notes for your own portfolio, you're gonna want to spend $500. Okay, and get on. But they're only PC guys. It's just like, oh really? But anyway, but that's what you have to buy. You have to get this little virtual box, this little thing that fits inside your Mac or whatever. But if you run a PC, don't worry, you're all set up. So, um, so does anyone have a deal? Do you guys have any numbers you're working on right now before we kind of wrap up before the end of the hour? Okay. Well, good. Well, thank you guys for being here. If you think of anything through the week, please email me and I'll address it next week. Next week, I'll have that in-a-day development, the iPhone app installed and ready to go. So we'll do a few examples based on that. But anyway, thanks for you guys spending your time tonight here, and we'll talk soon.
Great. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.